Got prediabetes? Well, there's 5 remedies that can help you overcome it. You know, prediabetes is something that is incredibly interesting because many people are walking around with it and they just don't know it. Think about it. If you were to be a type 2 diabetic one day, there is obviously years and years that your body was suffering with insulin resistance before you were ever diagnosed. And this is why an estimated 100 million people are walking around in the United States today and don't even know that they have prediabetes. This equates to 1 in 3 adults. So let's go ahead and dissect this. And I love going through these articles because it gives you an opportunity to see kind of what is out there in, the main thought processes in the media on this type of information, but also it gives me the opportunity to break down how we would address this from a clinical perspective too. So before we get started, I'm Dr. Nick Zarowski and welcome to the channel. Be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification, and also make your way on over to drzee.tv for all my natural health videos. Let's dive in. Now, here's the thing about prediabetes. There's ways to overcome this. Many people think that when you get prediabetes or you're a type 2 diabetic that you are just destined to taking medication for life. The fact is that you are not. I mean, this is in my wheelhouse. This is something I help people with all the time. And it kills me to see people who are saying, well, I just have to take diabetic medication. No, you don't. You can overcome this. This is a lifestyle illness. Prediabetes and type 2 diabetes, a lifestyle illness that was basically developed in your body as a result of your very poor lifestyle. So when your baseline blood sugar is higher than normal, but you haven't hit the threshold for diabetes diagnosis, you have prediabetes, a condition that often has no symptoms but is considered very serious. This is at the same time when you start developing fatty liver, you start developing cholesterol issues, high blood pressure, and all the different metabolic conditions that come with it. It comes as a package. Don't think that this stuff comes alone. Now, as we look at your blood sugar, because it's mentioning your blood sugar, and here's the thing about this is you can do some pretty simple tests at home in order to monitor your blood sugar. You can go to any pharmacy, you can get this simple kit to test your blood sugar. And if your blood sugar, after you fast for 8 hours, let's say you go to bed at night and you wake up the next morning and you take your blood sugar, and your blood sugar is between 100 and 120 continually in a fasted state, then that's a sign of prediabetes. Now, you can also get your A1C tested. That is a glycosylated hemoglobin test. And this is a good test to do because what it does is it basically shows you a history of your blood sugar. It looks at looks at your blood sugar from a 3-month perspective. So those are very useful. And you can even test your insulin, which is also a very useful way to determine if you have prediabetes, because guess what? Way prior to your blood sugar getting out of control or your A1C getting out of control, your insulin is going to be spiked at a very high level. And the reason that this happens this way is because when your insulin goes really high, it's handling your blood sugar and it's also handling your A1C. It's keeping those scores artificially low, but your insulin is through the roof because it's working so hard in order to try to shove that sugar into the cell. So those are some tests you can look at. Now, according to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, prediabetes is a big deal, and that puts you at risk for developing more serious conditions. Type 2 diabetes, heart attack, stroke. Surprisingly, it's estimated that 1 in 3 adults, approximately 88 million Americans, have prediabetes, but most of these people don't know they have it. They don't know they have the risk factors as well. Now, some risk factors are as follows. You're overweight, you're 45 years or older in age, your parents or siblings had type 2 diabetes. Now, as we look at your parents or siblings having type 2 diabetes, this is considered like a family history of. Now, understand, most people think that this is happening because you're genetically predetermined to have this issue. That is obviously nonsense. There's very few circumstances where genetics are playing a role in the fact that you have type 2 diabetes. What is more likely to have happened is that, well, you grew up in a family that had a very poor lifestyle and ate like garbage and consumed a lot of sugar. And because you were educated to eat a certain way, guess what? You followed in your footsteps. And for the same reason that people who have obese parents are more likely to be obese themselves. It's not because of a family history or it was genetics. It had nothing to do with that. You just learned improper ways to take care of your body, improper ways to eat, improper ways of movement patterns, you're not exercising, doing all those things. The next thing that we have to look out for as a risk factor is physically active less than 3 times per week, experienced gestational diabetes, or gave birth to a baby weighing 9 pounds or more. All right, now if you've received a diagnosis of prediabetes or suspect that you may have it, it's time to get serious managing your health. Left unchecked, prediabetes can progress to type 2 diabetes, as we've mentioned, and then it has more dangerous implications like kidney failure, blindness, nerve damage, limb amputation, and more. And here's the thing that kills me about this is that this happens to people all the time, where they're getting limbs amputated and stuff because they are not getting their diabetes under control. This is something that is a choice, okay? This is a choice, and you can make a better one. So prediabetes, a lifestyle disease, and this is what I was just talking about. Prediabetes is a serious warning sign that it's time to make important lifestyle changes. Ignore the dangers and you may experience a deteriorating quality of life. You will experience. It's not maybe one day. No, you certainly will be. And some serious health consequences. The good news is that prediabetes and often type 2 diabetes may be preventable by making a few key alterations to your daily regimen. For instance, I have a brother who drinks a ton of soda and does not take care of his health at all. And I know beyond a shadow of a doubt, even though he's fairly young, he has prediabetes. Guarantee it. And I told that to him one time and he said, yeah, no, I don't. You don't know what you're talking about, whatever, because he doesn't want to actually address the problem, right? And I made a bet with him. I was like, I will, bet you, let's say it was like $200. And if your test is positive, you have to give me $200. And if your test is negative, I'll give you $200. He wouldn't go through with the bet because I think he knows deep down I am right. So here's 5 remedies, things that you can do to help you with prediabetes. Vitamin D is one, okay? Now, vitamin D, and here's how I'm going to break this down because it's good for you to see, like I said, what's out there in kind of the mainstream way of thinking of what you can do for prediabetes, but I'm also going to tell you what I would do. Like if I was, found out today I was prediabetes, here's the things I would do, okay? So vitamin D is number 1 on their list. Now, vitamin D is going to help decrease inflammation. It's going to help make you more sensitive to insulin. It's going to help lower your blood sugar. Vitamin D is good for your immune system. It's good for so many aspects of your body. This is why the medical community, even though they pretty much don't acknowledge any vitamins for the most part, they look to medication for all their answers, and they laugh at us in the natural community because they're like, we have the meds, and we're like, well, we actually have the real answer, the root cause of the problem, and we know how to address it appropriately, not cover it up. Well, even though the medical community does not acknowledge vitamins in most cases, right? And I know some people tell me, Dr. Zarowski, my doctor told me to take vitamins. Okay. I mean, there are some doctors out there that will, but in general terms, they really do not. They would put somebody on a diabetic medication like metformin versus actually going and working to address the actual lifestyle issue or the deficiency issue. So vitamin D is very good for every aspect of your health. And this is why most people who get their blood drawn at their doctor's office, they draw their vitamin D levels. Now, what's wrong about this whole conversation of vitamin D is that most doctors will go and put somebody on like 50,000 IUs of vitamin D for like a week or two, and then that's it, right? Where that's not a great way to take vitamin D and get yourself to sufficient levels. I mean, where in nature are you finding 50,000 IUs of vitamin D a day? What you want to do is take it daily at low amounts and do something that's take a vitamin or a supplement in the way that you would find it in nature, right? Not take an enormous dose and then just totally drop off and not take it at all. And this is where most people find themselves. So vitamin D is very important. We're going to pass on through that. Exercise is the next one, okay? In this article right here, they say taking a 30-minute brisk walk 5 times per week or 75 minutes of vigorous activity each week meets the Department of Health and Human Services recommended level of physical activity for adults. By integrating this level of movement into your routine, you may reduce your risk of developing type 2 diabetes by as much as 58%. That's why you hear me tout all the time a 30-minute brisk walk a day, okay? Now, me personally, I exercise way harder than that, right? But I do understand that somebody who is coming from a place with type 2 diabetes or unhealthy, a 30-minute brisk walk a day is a big challenge. So it's a good place to start. And if you're doing nothing, it's the bare minimum, right? And even if that's a challenge for you, start with a 10-minute brisk walk, okay? Just start somewhere. It's very important. Research into associations between physical activity and sedentary behavior on cardiometabolic biomarkers in patients with prediabetes and type 2 diabetes found that shifting just 19 minutes of moderate to vigorous physical activity to sedentary behavior caused a 17% increase in the amount of fat in the gut region of participants. Reducing physical activity also increased insulin resistance by as much as 39%. And lowered HDL, the good cholesterol, by 3.3%. So here's what's important to know is that when you're actually moving and you're engaging your muscles, essentially what's happening is that your body is going to use up that glucose in the body. It's going to use up those glycogen stores, okay? It has something to do with it. So you burn it up. Now, of course, you want to not be putting it in the tank, right? You don't want to be putting that glucose, that sugar into your body, but you also want to at least be using it up. And for people who are type 2 diabetics or prediabetes, they have tons of glycogen stores in their body that you've got to start working through. And so that is really important. Now, let me talk to you about physical activity real quick, because the walking is great, right? Let's say that you're coming from a place of not really exercising. What also is very good, and I have patients do this, is I will have patients go and do something along the lines of a 5-minute HIIT workout in the morning, high intensity interval training, and maybe 5 minutes at night, okay? And sometimes it's not even that. It's like, look, just give me 3 minutes. 3 minutes of high intensity interval training. And what that might look like is you do jumping jacks for like 30 seconds as fast as you can. You run in place. Maybe you're doing some push-ups. Maybe you're doing air squats, and you just do that as fast. You just hit those workouts really hard for like 3 to 5 minutes. And that burns a tremendous amount of glucose and glycogen stores in the body. So it really helps bring down your blood sugar. So yeah, 30 minutes is great, but also that high intensity interval training is very, very beneficial. And don't let the high intensity part of it scare you. It really comes down to, it's just like, a fast paced, hard, quick workout. I mean, by the end of that, you might just barely be breaking a sweat, but it's good for bringing down blood sugar. It's very good for anybody with insulin resistance. Before we go to our next number 3 on the list here, I do want to mention we did just launch a brand new membership community. I strongly urge you to be a part of it. Not only does it support our efforts in producing good quality content for you, we're also really trying to help more people more in depth with their health. So for instance, we have a 3-day water fast coming up within the membership community. And I will be sharing all my up-to-date protocols on how I seamlessly do a 3-day water fast, and I'd love for you guys to be along on that journey. Like I said, it's a donation thing because it is supporting and making this possible for us to do videos like this, and without your guys' support, we literally cannot do these types of videos. It's just become very, very difficult from the perspective of, there's just not much out there in the way of advertisement and things like that we're utilizing because we don't want our videos to be full of advertisers or advertisers swaying our message at all. So it's your support that makes this all possible. Make your way over to www.drz.tv and become a member today. We greatly appreciate it. And also, as I mentioned, it's going to help you improve your health greatly. So I hope I see you there, friend, and I'll put a link in the description below so you can become a member. Now let's take a look at CoQ10. Okay, CoQ10 really doesn't excite me that much when it comes to overcoming insulin resistance, but in this article, they do have reasons. There are some studies that show that it does improve insulin resistance. It just would be very low on the list of things that I would personally use myself or clinically to help somebody with it. Studies for its usefulness in treating migraines, heart disease, dementia, and other inflammatory conditions. CoQ10 has been explored as a therapy to prevent type 2 diabetes. A 2018 study examined whether the distribution of CoQ10 would improve insulin resistance in patients with prediabetes. In the double-blinded, placebo-controlled trial, studied 80 adults with impaired glucose tolerance, randomizing them into supplement group and a placebo group. After 8 weeks of treatment, the CoQ10 group exhibited a significant decrease in insulin resistance along with lowered levels of toxic free radicals. Okay, so it's a very good, powerful antioxidant. It's very good for improving heart health, has a lot of benefits. Definitely would include this into my supplement routine, especially based on age, right? Because there's a lot of studies that show that as you age, you don't efficiently have as much CoQ10 in your system. So supplementing with it can be very beneficial. Now, curcumin is also great. Once again, I think it's great, but it would not be very high on my list of things to use for someone who has prediabetes or type 2 diabetes. It'd be pretty low, actually. So curcumin is great, and it's very, very heavily researched, and there's definitely reason to believe it can be helpful. It's very good at decreasing inflammation. Some of the same things that we just saw from CoQ10. It helps decrease inflammation, therefore helping walk back some of the pre-diabetic problems. Okay, and then number 5 on our list is yoga. Okay, so basically more exercise. Any exercise, any activation of muscle groups is going to be very positive for somebody who has glucose intolerance. Okay, and so let's go ahead now and talk about a few other things that I personally would look to if I was helping someone with insulin resistance. I want to talk about a few more supplements because we talked about their top 3. Their top 3 in this article was vitamin D, it was CoQ10, and curcumin. And I said none of those would be on the top of my list. Vitamin D would be would be number 1 if I had to pick out of all of those. But what would be on my list is things like this. So liver assist, okay? This is a supplement we use clinically all the time, and the reason for this is because it is just a good general liver support. As you have somebody who has prediabetes, insulin resistance, their liver is not functioning well. In fact, they almost guaranteed to have some level of fatty liver. Supporting the liver during this process is very important for bringing down blood sugar and overcoming this problem. So I really like this one because here's the way I look at it. We got to find a way to support the liver, and then we also have to find a way to bring the blood sugar down. Like I said, we'll talk about a few lifestyle things in a second, but when it comes to supplementation, this is definitely very, very high on my list. The next is going to be Berberine. Okay, this one's called Berberine IR. IR stands for insulin resistance. Now, this has a mixture of berberine and alpha-lipoic acid, which is going to help with inflammation. Now, this berberine, once again, a top go-to, has been shown, this berberine has been shown to be as effective, if not more effective, than the commonly used diabetic medication metformin. Okay, so here you have all these people on metformin. Like I said before, it kills me to see all these people who are struggling like this because, I mean, you don't have to. There is no reason for it. So this berberine is powerful. And so it can definitely be used in order to bring down that blood sugar very effectively, highly studied in the research, and very, very beneficial. It's if you're someone who's like high on the list of like diabetes, type 2 diabetes, like you're very far into the disease and you are in a bad way, this is very, very beneficial. And we just to give you a recent example, I had a lady I was working with, and her A1C was really, really bad. I mean, she was at like a 6.9 or something like that. And in 2 months using, and I'm sharing with you exactly, some of the methods we use, within a 2-month period, her blood work, she got it redone, and she went to another doctor who was already managing her diabetes, her type 2 diabetes. She came to me in order to help overcome it naturally because her doctor said, look, if you don't get this under control, you're going on the drugs. And she said, I don't want to be on them. And he said, okay, but next time you come in, if it's not solved, it's like, it's go time. We're doing it. So she came to me. And so after her follow-up, she was blown away. Her doctor was blown away because the blood work came back, and she went from like, high 6s to high 5s, actually taking her out of the type 2 diabetic range in her A1C. So pretty powerful. And that was only 2 months. It was incredible. So this stuff really works. And then there's also this one I like to go to as well. This is Insulin Balance. Okay, this is basically just a whole bunch of herbs that herbs and vitamins that is just to be designed to be well-rounded to help drive down blood sugar. Just another thing to layer on top. So you're really supporting those blood sugar mechanisms along with the liver. Now beyond this, okay, so we talked about my top 3 supplements. We had Liver Assist, we had Berberine, we have Insulin Balance. These are my top go-tos. Beyond this, and I'll put links in the descriptions to all the resources as well, you really have to make sure that you're following the proper diet, okay? You need to be going sugar-free, grain-free. You gotta be cutting down the carbs to a significantly low level. You just have to do these things, right? Because I am not a fan of supplementation. Sometimes people go, oh, Dr. Zarowski, you're trying to just, convince people to buy supplements and you're not telling them about lifestyle. No, no, no. Lifestyle is the most important, and then you do the supplements as an added benefit. Because when people come to me, and this is important to understand from a clinical perspective, when people come to me, they don't want me to solve their diabetes problem over the course of several months. They want me to solve it now. So if we're going to get results, we're going to use high doses of herbs and vitamins, but we're also going to make sure that we are using lifestyle to a high extent. So that's why we're going and we're using these very things to accomplish this. So we have to make sure that our diet changes, and we also have to make sure that we're exercising. Those are two very important pieces to this whole puzzle, okay? And whether you're somebody who has high cholesterol, high blood pressure, heart problems, heart disease, if you have a problem with losing weight, maybe you've even hit a plateau and you can't lose weight, all these same things apply, okay? So we have to make sure that we're doing the right things. You start making the proper changes, and your body will take care of you. So I once again encourage you to become a member on Dr. Z TV and make a donation, and you will benefit greatly from the information in there. We are working hard to make this better and better so that we can help more and more people overcome their health challenges naturally, because true health only comes naturally. And your support makes it possible. Make your way on over to drzTV and become a member today. I look forward to seeing you there. Thank you.